Most of the negative reviews for Team Fortress 2 were all talking about one thing, and if you've played the game in the last 3 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My favourite video game is being killed by robots, and Valve hasn't done a damn thing about it. Good game, treated horribly by Valve. Greatest free-to-play shooter to ever exist, abandoned by Valve. Valve, please do something about the bots. There are lots of reviews just like these ones, and they all refer to one thing. After the game's developer Valve all but abandoned TF2, only really returning to drop a community-created cosmetic case once every 6 months, some arsehole script kiddies on the internet realised that they could very easily exploit TF2 for their own amusement. People started making bots. Unmanned Steam accounts that would join TF2 casual servers and play sniper with an aimbot. A single user could have dozens, if not hundreds of these accounts all running all at once. All automatically joining casual servers to ruin the experience for others. And Valve's reaction to this, for the longest time, was nothing. For 2 years, Valve let this happen and made absolutely no changes to the game whatsoever. That was at least until earlier this year, when the hashtag SaveTF2 started trending all over the internet. Because Valve doesn't care if TF2 is barely playable, so long as the game quietly makes the money in the background. So the only thing that was going to get Valve to pay attention to Team Fortress 2 was a PR scandal, and that's exactly what the internet gave them. And the plan worked. TF2's Twitter account made a tweet for the first time in years, and Valve hired a contractor to start making changes to TF2 in order to fix these issues. And ever since then, the bots have still been present, but they've been far less common and far less oppressive. But despite those fixes in recent times, these reviews are still correct. Valve didn't care whatsoever that TF2 was in a barely playable state. Valve didn't care that one of their most profitable games was being abused by bad actors, because Valve is a ridiculous game company, and they work in mysterious ways. I have lots of other videos that talk about Valve and talk about TF2 bots, so I won't talk about it all too much here. But just remember that the pressure on Valve did work, and it would likely work again similarly in the future if the game became unplayable enough. And there was one other common topic that was brought up in all these negative reviews. A whole bunch of negative reviews, all created in around about 2016, talking about the dreaded Meet Your Match update. The Meet Your Match update was touted by Valve to be a complete overhaul of the existing UI, and the format by which casual and competitive players select what type of game mode they specifically want. What ultimately happened was you can no longer pick what public server you want. You're forced to sit in queue for at least 5 minutes, often more. Casual servers have experience points, but you're penalised if you leave a server early. The update killed the item servers, and if you wanted to play competitive mode, you better pay the premium. The Meet Your Match update was a complete and utter disaster for Valve. The 2 new queue systems were both extremely buggy on launch, with tens of thousands of players all queued at once while the matchmaking system struggled to put them into games with each other. The comp mode was just as buggy, and it had a paywall on release, and it would instantly nullify the result of a match if a single player left at any point during that match. Not to mention that TF2's class, weapon, and map balance really doesn't lend itself to a 6 vs 6 game mode. The only reason that the community's 6v6 works is because there are a lot of restrictions on what classes you can play and what unlocks you can use. Without those restrictions, the balance of competitive queue was completely terrible. It was basically just glorified casual mode, with actual Comp 6's players queuing up against Pablo Minecraft 2011. The competitive mode did have an MMR system, but if you got to a high enough rank, you just weren't able to find a game because the game mode wasn't popular enough. And that's still how it remains today. And Meet Your Match did one more thing that all of these negative reviews are complaining about constantly, and that's the fact that Meet Your Match removed quick play. Quick play was a far superior method to queue up for TF2 than the current casual servers will ever be, and the Meet Your Match system completely replaced quick play with the new casual system. Quick play allowed you to pick your maps and servers far easier, and you can join your friends while a game is in progress without having to fanny about getting into a party with them. And you are actually able to change teams to be on the opposite team as your friends. A feature that, hilariously, TF2's casual doesn't have, but the client says is coming soon. I don't think it's coming soon, guys. I don't think it's coming. Quick play was simpler and less time consuming, but nowadays you have to go to community servers to get a similar experience to the old school quick play. And 6 years later, the competitive mode is deader than dead, and casual has been slowly accepted not because quick play was worse, but because 6 years is a very long time. And people quickly realised that quick play wasn't going to get re-added, so people either accepted casual mode or migrated to community servers. So we've got a bot crisis, and we've got the Meet Your Match update. Is there anything else we can complain about? Best Best game I have ever played. Would not recommend because Spy is French. Pay to win. Pay to play. That's all. No. No, it just isn't. TF2's weapon unlocks are a mixed bag, to say the least. Although there are certainly a couple of weapons that are crazy powerful, most of the time, the stock weapons that you start the game out with are the best options in slot. Like, take a look at Soldier, for example. The stock rocket launcher is the best and most versatile primary weapon that the character has. Sure, the Beggar's Bazooka is fun, and the Black Box is a neat side grade, and the airstrike lets you carpet bomb the entire enemy team and stuff. Oh, I got an achievement! They all have their downsides, and they all end up being far more situational than stock. He lives! He must have fucking 8. Turns out that free-to-plays start the game out with the best rocket launcher for Soldier in the game, and this is true 90% of the time. Now, there are some classes that are more unlock reliant than others, and most stock melee weapons are just worse than the unlockable counterparts. But for the most part, the stock weapons are actually the best weapons you can use if your entire goal is to be as effective as possible. What's actually happening here is that very inexperienced players are jumping headfirst into a game that is 15 years old, and they're queuing into casual where the enemy soldier has 5,000 hours and he's rocket jumping around with the Liberty launcher or something and rolling the new player every time he sees him. The new player is lacking so much knowledge and experience compared to that enemy soldier that he just assumes the unlock is broken, not realizing that it's actually worse than the default rocket launcher. There are a couple of primary weapons that get close to being more powerful than stock, but notice how I said close. Because the Tomislav is, like, just as good as the stock minigun. But it's not better. The stock minigun is really good. Same goes with things like the Quickie Bomb launcher. It's really good, but so is the Sticky Bomb launcher. These new players just don't really understand the game enough to see that for what it is. Because on the surface, it can seem like some of these unlockable weapons are pretty crazy compared to the very basic stats of the stock weapons. Something that is worth noting, though, is that the Manco store is a disgusting fucking ripoff. In reality, these weapons are worth less than a penny, but Valve will happily charge you a price that is hundreds of times more expensive than the actual market value of the weapon. But again, inexperienced players just don't know this. They don't yet know that the trading economy has got it all figured out. They don't yet know that they can go to a website called scrap.tf and get literally every weapon in the game for less than the cost of one Eureka effect from the Manco store. It's a pretty scummy business practice from Valve, but don't we all know that Valve really needs the money in these trying times, so I guess we'll let them off the hook. Oh. Bad graphics, swearing, gore, and bad kits. It's not good. Oh, I love the internet. People just say things, don't they? Game consisting of mostly cosmetics and gameplay worse than its predecessor. They should bring back Team Fortress Classic. That game was actually good. As much as I think this review is wrong about some stuff, it's also incredibly based. Team Fortress Classic was a super fun game, and although I do think Team Fortress 2 is a better game, it's so different from Team Fortress Classic that it's weird to even call it a sequel. Fortress Forever was a community mod that tried to make a true sequel to Team Fortress Classic. It did a pretty good job of it, but unfortunately I don't think it's very popular nowadays. Never mind, this game is annoying of how many sweats are in casual. It's happened again, hasn't it? Look, I hate to seem like the toxic 5k hour sweatlord telling new players to get good, but losing to an experienced player doesn't make that player a sweat, nor does it make the game bad. TF2 is probably older than 60% of the people leaving these negative reviews. If a game is still popular after 15 years of life and 5 years of a content drought, then you should probably assume that everyone that does still play the game regularly is completely crazy at it. And quite frankly, in Team Fortress 2's case, this isn't even really that true. TF2's player base is infamously casual, which means that the overwhelming majority of players that you will meet in pubs aren't very good at the game either. Not because they don't play it a lot, but because they don't really care. The funny, goofy, ha-ha, wacky shit that happens is why they play the game. So although there is a bunch of cool, crazy, skill-expressive mechanics to learn in Team Fortress 2, for a lot of players, that's not why they're playing. So this review is doubly wrong. It's not the good player's fault that you're new. It's Valve's fault that their matchmaking system doesn't even try and account for that. Okay, last one. Why are you searching negative reviews? Go download the game. Why do people